So there's no real drama in the college football rankings show every week for LSU fans. We have lost 6 games, so we're not in it. But if you dig a little bit deeper, we do have to care a little bit because I find it difficult to imagine LSU hiring a coach from a team that is in the college football playoff. It's just from a timing perspective, doesn't seem like it's going to work. And the reason's obvious. It's just they make these selections the first week in December, and then you don't play the game until New Year's. LSU's trying to hire a coach that's got to get in there and recruit for an early signing class. You can't really – sometimes coordinators that have taken coaching jobs elsewhere handle their business at the new job and then come back and game plan for the game. I just don't think a head coach can do that. It just doesn't seem doable. It's like, Brian Kelly, when he takes a Notre Dame job, it's from Cincinnati, like he's gone. Like he's not there anymore. Different story when Jim McElwain is taking the Colorado State job as a coordinator for Alabama, and he sticks around for the 11 title game. And there's lots of instances of that, but correct me if you think I'm wrong, I just can't see LSU hiring a head coach of a team that is in the college football playoff from a timing perspective.
Yeah, I could see it for one reason and one reason only. If Scott has his eyes on a guy and that guy agrees and he's had his eyes on him for months now because they started this thing after the UCLA game, I could see him waiting it out and playing and waiting and seeing what happens because if you know that's your guy, we've seen schools try to find their next head coach and fire, hire, and you don't want to find LSU in that situation. So you want to find a guy that you know is very comfortable coming to Baton Rouge, and you have a nice plan for him in the future of LSU. And if that guy's playing in the college football playoff, I think you kind of have to ride that out. And if that's your guy, you kind of let him finish that thing out and maybe play both. I think you got to do that if that's your guy.
So the issue with that, that makes sense. But then my retort to that would be, okay, but that's if LSU hasn't hired a coach by January the 2nd, that agreement's going to have been made and that news is going to get out. I just don't think it's going to work. Yeah. If you determine, okay, this is my guy, he's going to take the job, and he's still coaching the team into the first of all, he's probably going to want to get on down there and inside the recruiting. It's messy. So the issue is, okay, who could LSU target that would be in the college football playoff? Georgia's going to get in. Kirby Smart's not coming here, obviously. Dan Lanning's a defensive coordinator. That's not a name anybody's heard. I don't think anyone from Georgia's staff is coming to LSU, so you don't worry about that one. Alabama could make the list. They could beat Georgia. They could beat Auburn, beat Georgia. They could get in. They could even get in. There's a possibility with 2 losses. That'll make everybody real happy. I don't see anybody on Alabama staff that's coming here to be a head coach. Nobody in Tuscaloosa has been happy with the coordinators. I don't think they're necessarily candidates for this job. So those are the top 2. Mario Cristobal from Oregon. Now, Oregon's an underdog this week against Utah. We'll see. They've got to win 3 more games to get in. But their path is pretty clear. You got to beat Utah, beat Oregon State, win a Pac-12 championship game, maybe against Utah again, and that will get you into the playoff. Ohio State. Haven't heard any buzz from the Ohio State side of somebody that LSU could be targeting. Cincinnati, now it's still at 5, but you're looking at some potential shakeups right in front of them. And if Ohio State were to lose one of these 2 tough games or a Big Ten championship, or if Alabama were to lose to Georgia and fall out, Cincinnati would be right there. Luke Fickell. That's a name that was tossed around early. Haven't heard much of it since. I don't see anything from Michigan at number 6, but at number 7, Michigan State, Mel Tucker. They've got 2 tough games coming up that we know of. I think that's going to take care of itself. I don't think he's going to get in. And then I don't think Baylor can get in with Dave Aranda. They've got 2 losses already, a 2-loss Big 12 champion. I don't think so. And then obviously the biggest move from the selection show is Oklahoma falling all the way down to number 13. It is very difficult to find a path to Oklahoma getting in the college football playoff from 13. Now, Heather Dinich wrote a story, and the vast majority, I think like over 90% of the teams that have made the final, I'll look it up in a second, have been in the top 6 to this point. Oklahoma's at 13.
Yeah. They're going to need that Oklahoma State win. They're going to need to win the Big 12 championship. And then they're probably going to have to hope that the Big Ten and possibly the Pac-12.
They need Oregon to lose. They need Alabama to lose. They may need Notre Dame to lose.
Yeah, they're toast.
It's a lot.
They're toast if Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC
championship.
That's
for sure.
Then they're totally done. And I think the thing that kind of gives me a little hope for OU is that the ACC winner is probably going to be. I don't think the ACC they're going to pick an ACC winner. Where was Wake in that in the rankings?
So I just moved because I want to bring this stat up because this is relevant to a couple of the guys we're talking about here. Of the 28 semifinalists, 21 have been ranked in the top 4 at this point. 26 have been in the top 6. So to see where Oklahoma is right now, even with only one loss, because that's the guy that everyone wants to talk about right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're going to have someone from Norman come on tomorrow. I apologize. I won't give his name right now because I simply cannot pronounce it. I'm going to have to talk to him on the phone later today and figure out how to pronounce his name because it is as complicated as I've seen. But he's going to come on and talk a little bit about this. That's the guy everybody wants to talk about. I don't think they can get in. I really don't. You would need some sort of unprecedented sequence of events for Oklahoma to get into this, to get in from where they are.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. They're going to need help elsewhere. I'm trying to think, though, if they really do finish this season with one loss and they win the Big 12, do you really think the committee's not going to put them in there?
Okay, well, let's do it. I mean, this is the exercise. So Georgia's in.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be assuming they beat Georgia Tech and they only have one loss in the championship game. Georgia's in. So we have to find room for Oklahoma here. So Alabama loses to either Auburn or Georgia, they're out. So we've got them out. Oregon's got to lose to Utah one of the 2 times, they're out. Utah can't get in. So then you've eliminated the Pac-12. Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State.
They're going to beat up on each other.
Well, they are. But
some of those are going to have 2 losses automatically.
You need Ohio State to beat Michigan State to knock them out, and then you need Michigan to beat Ohio State to knock them out, and then you need Michigan to lose in the conference championship game to knock them out. I still don't think that's going to – the Big Ten, with as tough as it is at the top with the wins that they've accumulated, where Oklahoma can't really point to anything outside of an Oklahoma State win, it's all hypothetical, but maybe. Notre Dame is 9-1. Their one loss is to number 5 Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma can handle them this weekend, in 2 weeks. Wake Forest. They're ahead of them still by...
That's what I'm thinking.
They're 3 spots ahead of them. Now, I think Wake will probably lose again because they're not any good.
Yeah.
But it's hard to wrangle up enough losses.
Yeah, it's going to be very similar to LSU in 2007. You're going to need some real luck, some real games lost, and some teams really helping you out because, yeah, if there's any chance that there's a Big Ten winner with 1 loss, they're going to be over Oklahoma, no doubt, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Obviously, if Oregon has 1 loss with that big Ohio State win, they're going to be in over OU. Obviously, Bama has 1 loss. Georgia has no losses. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think the only thing they can hope for is Wake knocking themselves out, so no ACC winner in there. And then you hope these Big Ten teams beat each other up, and then maybe you can get an Oregon at 3 and then maybe slide in. But then you got undefeated Cincinnati who has that win over Notre Dame. So it's going to be tough for OU, man. Maybe Lincoln, maybe looking elsewhere.
Look, the point of this whole conversation where we're running through teams and trying to find losses in a week is the fact of the matter is that Scott Woodward very likely is going to be able to name his guy after the SEC championship game unless he wants Mario Cristobal, Luke Fickell. That's probably it. I mean, Aranda, Kiffin, Riley, Napier, all the names we've heard, those guys are not going to be in the playoff, very likely.
Yeah. That timetable, I think we're talking to Brody about it. The timetable that's realistic for LSU, I think it may be after the SEC championship, possibly after the A&M game, because you see how important recruiting is. We've been stuck at this 14 number, which isn't too alarming. We've been stuck at 14, but you got to have to finish this recruiting class, especially, you finish the season the way you did. You're going to have to get some guys in here. And I think, especially with the transfer portal rules and it's being a lot easier for coaches to get guys, we got, 4 guys in the portal right now already?
Yep.
So we're going to have to hit the portal hard. We're going to have to get this recruiting class, and you only do that with a new head coach. And so I see Woodward really not waiting and holding his hands with this. I think he's got to find this guy pretty soon here.
It's just this feels a little bit. It's not the same at all, but it feels like the COVID discussions that we had in this studio while there were no sports. Everything we were talking about was hypothetical. If this happens here, if this happens here, if this is your guy, it's all hypothetical, and it runs round and round in circles. But it is what it is, and I think LSU is now in a little bit better position after that Oklahoma loss. Baylor with 2 losses, Ole Miss not. I think you really. I think you're going to have your pick and your timing the way you like it if you're Scott Woodward. That's my opinion. Now, again, I tend to think that most people, specifically on message boards and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, really don't know anything. It's possible that some newspaper guys, know some things, and it's possible that things up in Norman are a little bit restless, like Tom Luganville is talking about. All that stuff may very well be true, but I am of the mind right now where I'm just running out the next 2 weeks and assuming that we're not going to know anything for sure the next 2. It's cool. It sounds cool to get on there and say, I was talking to somebody and he said this and we know that that's not how Scott Woodward works.
No.
Look, I will tell you, I know here it is, but it's the exact opposite of what the end of the story usually is. I spoke with someone yesterday who is very close with Scott Woodward. They spend time together around football games, hunting. I spoke who's very close to Scott Woodward. He said he didn't tell me anything. And that's the opposite of it.
Yeah.
I know a guy and he found this out. Like that's our like.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. Like Scott Woodward has a guy he spends a lot of time with. The guy doesn't know anything.
Yeah. I think the second part to that is the head coaches aren't going to tell you anything. When Jimbo was at Florida State, he said, I love Florida State.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving Florida State. Next thing you know, he said, "Hey,
Nick Saban, I'm not going to be the head coach at Alabama," and I love it. You can lie. That's all you can do. Whatever you want. You don't need to be misleading recruits on purpose because that's their lives. You need if you want somebody to write something wrong in the newspaper, who cares? Like that's not the coach's responsibility. So, and it's not the newspaper's fault if they print a quote that's in a press conference. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am on that. It's silly season. It's out of control, and it is what it is. And there's a degree of excitement to it, but I just don't jump on board with every rumor and every flight tracker and oh my God, an airplane landed in Norman. Can you believe this? I'm not. It's fine. People flying to Norman all the time.
Man, look, it gets the people going. I know
It
one
does.
thing about that. They go crazy for this coaching search. They are probably driving themselves nuts trying to figure out who the next guy is, who's saying what, or the denials, and who's not denying, and who's saying what at press conferences. Man, it's juicy stuff, but it's not going to get you the next head coach anytime soon. Just got to wait this thing out, people. Scott Snows.
Let's go smoke ULM, baby. 8 o'clock kickoff Saturday night.